The Anomaly, Tensura X Data Live, by Nocturne_Chapter 4, Meeting. After Rimuru got teleported to the neighboring world. Rimuru paused floating in the neighboring world for some time. Suddenly, Rimuru awoke and was greeted by a familiar voice. Did you have a good sleep, Rimuru-sama? Ah, did something happen, Seal? Report. I have partially analyzed the Saphira gem that Mio Takamiya gave you. Is there anything interesting? The Saphira spiritual power is currently in an unstable state because it was affected by nihility energy, so controlling it is nearly impossible. Nearly impossible, huh? So it is still possible to control it, right? Yes, Master, if I can control the spirit power stability, I can separate the two energies, but for some reason, this energy doesn't act according to the normal rule of the world, so I can't understand how it works yet. What do you mean by that? I can't replicate the spiritual power or the Saphira at all. Every time I tried to replicate it, the energy just turned back into mana. That's certainly not normal, huh? Rimuru mumbles in her mind. It also seems that the Saphira has created a connection to your soul. Isn't that bad? Can you remove the Saphira, Seal? Certainly possible. However, I think we should use this to analyze the power of spirits. And, according to my analysis, the Saphira is harmless to your soul. After Ciel's suggestion, Rimuru thought for a moment. An object with largely unknown functions and effects was inside Rimuru's body. But even so, Ciel made it seem like this thing wasn't a danger. I have already transported your real body to another dimension, so you don't have to worry, Master. Ciel spoke up as if she knew Rimuru's thought. Since when? 30 years ago, before it was placed in your body, Rimuru-sama. Is that so? Alright, you can do as you please. Yes, Rimuru-sama. Rimuru had faith in Ciel. She must have a reason to keep the Saphira gem after all. After that, Rimuru comes back to the problem that she has nothing to do. She is currently using universal perception to sense her surroundings. If she moves around, Phantom may think that she is a threat for being able to stay conscious in this place and attack her again. The surrounding area was just a large space, densely covered with spiritual energy. The spiritual energy here was so strong that Rimuru could feel their presence without the need for any special sense. Even so, there was absolutely nothing to do around here. After a while, Rimuru spoke up. Ciel, are you done figuring out how to leave without causing a space quake? Yes, I can manipulate space to prevent that space quake from happening. Oh, great then. So can we go now, Ciel? Yes, Rimuru-sama. Yosh. Then let's leave this boring place. Then, she realizes that she's no longer in the neighboring world anymore due to the lack of spiritual power. Slowly opening her eyes, Rimuru found herself standing in a narrow alley. Rimuru tried checking outside to determine her position. Outside of the alley, all activities were going on as usual, and there was no sign of a terrible battle or any disaster taking place. Hey Ciel, how long have I been sleeping in the neighboring world? Report. 98 hours 53 minutes 17 seconds and 8 milliseconds, Rimuru-sama. There's no need to be that detailed, but anyway, thank you. Rimuru looked at it for a moment then turned back into the alley. Currently, Rimuru can't hide her spiritual power, so stepping out is too dangerous for her. However, just as Rimuru turned to leave, Ciel spoke up again. Report. Individual Itsuka Shithu is heading in your direction. Shithu? Ah, that's the boy from the Ratatosker organization the other day, right? Correct. Master Rimuru can reach out to the Ratatosker organization to gather information. However, she currently lacks too much information and can't believe someone she's only met for a few minutes. And even without any help, Rimuru would still be able to hide her presence and search for information on her own. With such thought, Rimuru didn't care about him and left deeper into the alley. After walking for a while, Rimuru stopped to check universal perception and noticed that the boy was still following her. Ciel, how did those people know my location report? They're currently tracking the spiritual energy that you were radiating, Master. After Ciel's explanation, Rimuru starts to think. Although it was possible to use teleport and hide quickly, Rimuru was still emitting spiritual power, which would bring more trouble if others picked up on her spirit wave signal. So, dealing with one organization would be better. Thinking so, Rimuru stood there and waited for Shithu to come. After a long wait, a sound of heavy breathing came from behind Rimuru. Ha, ha, ha. Hey, Shidhu said, breathing heavily. He rested his hands on his knees and tried to maintain a standing position. He was drenched in sweat and looked extremely tired. Oh, you've finally caught up? Itsuka Shidhu, Shidhu Pav. It has been 4 days since Shidhu encountered that spirit. The information and data about her had been analyzed by Ratatosker for future planning. And now Shidhu was on his way to buy food to make for Toka, Yoshino, Kagaya and Yuzuri as usual. The city had been rebuilt after the spacequake and everything looked like nothing ever happened. The house and building had been repaired. People were busy on the streets, and Shidhu was one of them. Shidhu was walking while thinking random things in his mind until his eyes drifted over to the figure of a girl that caught his attention immediately. The girl stood in front of a small alley. Her blue-silver hair and her white clothes stood out from everyone else. A silhouette made him instantly recognizable. Spirits. Shidhu muttered those words while looking at that girl's figure. Suddenly, the girl turned quickly towards the alley and went deeper into it. He looked at the place where that girl used to be. That figure, that hair. He definitely couldn't be mistaken. The girl just now looked a lot like Destroyer, a spirit that appeared a few days ago. Shidhu immediately contacted Katori. Katori, that girl is. Shidhu asked Katori, but before he finished his sentence, Katori answered. She was the spirit from the other day, Katori said with a serious voice. Shidhu immediately froze, his eyes constantly looking at the place where the girl used to be. Destroyer has been reported to be able to sense other objects or individuals over a large range. So it also implies that she was aware of Shidhu's presence and is avoiding him. Even though he had been prepared to talk to her, all of that would be meaningless if she didn't want to talk to him. While Shidhu was still deep in thought, Katori's voice once again brought him back to reality. She's emitting spiritual energy, and if it stays like this, trouble will happen. Shidhu, hurry up and follow her, said Katori in a hurry. I know, Shidhu quickly replied, then moved into the alley. For the time being, he put aside his shopping and followed that girl. But when he reached the front of the alley, her figure was no longer there. Inside the small alley, there were many turns between the houses and no sign of the girl from earlier. Katori, I lost track of her. Shidhu quickly reported the situation to Katori. Don't worry, we are still tracking her location. Go straight ahead and turn left. Katori gave Shidhu instructions without any hesitation. Understood, Shidhu replied, and quickly went in the direction indicated. At first, Shidhu only dared to walk to avoid attracting unnecessary attention. But then Katori's voice rang out. Shidhu, move faster. It looks like she has accelerated. At this rate, you won't be able to catch up to her. Following Katori's orders, Shidhu also slowly converted his walking into running and gradually increased his speed. When he turned left at Katori's words, he caught up with the figure of the girl from earlier, however. Before he could say anything, the girl suddenly began to move at a speed impossible for ordinary people. Shidhu stood frozen as if he had given up. At that rate, if that girl didn't want to meet Shidhu, he wouldn't be able to catch up. At the moment when Shidhu almost gave up on pursuit, Katori spoke up again. Don't worry, we're monitoring her spiritual energy. We still know her location, just follow our instructions. Worst case scenario, we'll teleport you as close to her as possible. Understood, Shidhu said and continued running. He doesn't have time to waste. That girl may not want to meet him, but he won't give up. After going through so many turns for a while, it was like a maze to Shidhu. At this moment, Shidhu's breathing became heavier. He had been running for a while at the fastest possible speed. And after a long time, Katori's voice rang out. Turn right, and you'll see her. It looks like she's stopped. Try to talk to her and don't say anything stupid, Katori reminded him one last time. Shidhu heard Katori's words but couldn't respond because all he could do right now was gasp for air. But he understood what Katori meant. From now on, Shidhu will have to choose his own words and actions. Ratatosker wasn't sure if this spirit was capable of interfering with signal transmissions, but caution was always needed. If the girl knew that he was just repeating the words of some strange organization, no matter how hard Shidhu tried, he wouldn't be able to win her trust. Shidu turned right, and in front of him was the figure of a girl with blue-silver hair and white clothes. She was currently turning her back toward him. Hey, ha, 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 Shidu panted heavily after stopping right behind the girl. Due to running for a long time, Shidu can't even say a single word. All of his efforts were put into breathing and trying not to fall due to exhaustion. Shidu crouched down with his hands on his knees while still breathing heavily. Hey, don't be like that. You'll lose your image in front of her. How can I not get tired after running that long? Shidu complained to Kotori while still panting. When he was able to control his breathing, he looked up and saw the girl in front of him had turned towards him with an annoyed look on her face. Shidu crouched down with his hands on his knees while still breathing heavily. Hey, don't be like that. You'll lose your image in front of her. How can I not get tired after running that long? Shidu complained to Kotori while still panting. When he was able to control his breathing, he looked up and saw the girl in front of him had turned towards him with an annoyed look on her face. She still has the same look as last time, a white suit with long sleeves, embellished with some black borders, and a few small accessories that give off a holy feeling. While Shidu remained frozen in place, the girl in front of him slowly approached him. She slowly stepped in front of him with a light gait. With every step she took, it felt like a holy being was walking toward him. The feeling was the same as when he first met her, but this time he didn't have a sword pointed at his neck. So you finally caught up, huh? Itsuka Shidu. She spoke with a voice that was completely different from the scary voice she had when they first met. Although Shidu was less tired after stopping for a while, he was still feeling rather nervous, as this was his first time dealing with a spirit without Radatasker's direct help. From now on, Shidu will have to choose his own words to convince this spirit girl in front of him, and Fraxinus will only intervene when it is necessary to make an important decision. While Shidu was still trying to calm himself and find a way to start the conversation, the girl seemed to have noticed his anxiety and opened her mouth first. Looks like I haven't introduced myself to you yet. I'm Rimuru Tempest. And let me ask you one thing. What's your purpose in coming here? The girl in front of her said her name was Rimuru Tempest and looked up at Shidu's face with her deep golden eyes seemed to be observing and analyzing his entire body. Shidu is now calm enough to face the spirit in front of him. When looking at it this close, Shidu could admire the beauty of the girl in front of him. Her golden eyes seemed to be glowing, and her face had a feminine cuteness. A beauty so perfect that he couldn't believe the person in front of him was a world disaster. Stop staring at her, say something. Are you done staring? Rimuru spoke as if she were annoyed by being looked at. Kotori's and Rimuru's voices rang out at the same time, causing Shido to realize the current situation and hastily speak up. This is not a good place to talk, right? I think we should go somewhere more suitable. We can also talk while walking. Shido said one of the lines that had been practiced many times. He must try to get out of this place so that he can get to a place where the staff of Ratatosker can help him. Rain had warned that this girl could be very intelligent, so he had to be careful and not say anything reckless. Rimuru was silent for a moment, looking like she was thinking, then spoke again. Fine. Then where are we going? I have no idea where we're right now. Kotori Pav. 15,000 meters from where Shido and the spirit were standing, was the airship Fraxinus floating in the sky. Kotori, the airship's captain, was holding a lollipop in her mouth and sitting on the captain's seat. She was feeling extremely nervous. Ratatosker didn't know if this spirit could affect signals or could only recognize their presence, but still should be careful with this spirit. Although watching from a distance might be annoying to the girl, it wasn't unnecessary. That spirit already knew that Shido worked for Ratatosker, so if Shido suddenly appeared alone without any supervision, it would be suspected. And now, when Shido had successfully approached this spirit, the plan had reached the second stage. Looks like the date has already begun, doesn't it? Kotori said with a smile, but this smile didn't seem as confident as usual. While Kotori was still looking at the screen, suddenly Rain came from the side, with a report. I have collected and analyzed the information from this spirit. Kotori heard Rain's voice and turned her attention to Rain. Rain stood next to Kotori, her face still looking sleep-deprived as usual, and in her hand, she held a report that had just been collected from this encounter. Is there any important information? Kotori immediately asked. Normally, Rain would analyze the information after it was all over, but when Rain announced it now, there was something important. I think you should see it yourself. Rain spoke up and handed the report to Katori. Katori reached out her hand and took the report from Rain's hand. After looking at it for a while, Katori narrowed her eyes. Katori looked at Rain as if to confirm the information and only received a nod from her. Katori handed the report back to Rain and returned her gaze to the screen. She looked at the spirit walking beside Shido with an unbelievable face. A spirit that has mana. Katori muttered in disbelief. During the first encounter, Fraxinus perceived the appearance of both mana and spiritual energy around that spirit. But due to the possibility that this mana was coming from the realizers of the Ast, those signals were treated as interference signals. But now, undoubtedly, this spirit was indeed radiating mana. And there was one more detail that caught Katori's attention. Not long after that spirit met Shido, the mana suddenly disappeared completely, as if it had never existed. But for now, Katori put those questions aside for the moment, because it seemed like Shido had successfully invited the spirit to another place. Although Ratatoskr wouldn't interfere too much in the conversation between Shido and Rimuru, letting them go around the city unprepared could be quite troublesome. With that, Katori looked up at the main screen in the Fraxinus control room and spoke up. Shido did a great job. Now it's our part, let's vote on where Shido will take her. Katori said, looking up at the screen that was showing the options. Option 1, Restaurant. Option 2, Park. Option 3, Love Hotel. Katori nodded after looking at the result. The majority voted for 1, and a few voted for 2. However, one member voted 3. Who is the one who chose 3? Katori asked, but she already knew who chose that. It's me. Kanazuki raised his hand and spoke proudly about his decision. Why? I can't wait to see her scary face with her scary eyes. Ah, that terrifying killing intent. Just imagining it makes me shiver. Kanazuki was talking but stopped when he heard the snap of Katori's fingers. When Katori snapped her fingers, 2 strong men appeared from the door behind and grabbed both Kanazuki's arms and legs. Kanazuki, having both his arms secured by the muscles, men could only beg. Please, I beg you, spare me. Please don't take my panties. Kanazuki's desperate scream resounded and slowly disappeared. Okay. Shido, take her to the restaurant. On the way, try to talk to her, we'll take care of the rest. Katori spoke, ignoring Kanazuki's screams. Shido pav. Understood, Shido replied in a voice low enough to avoid Rimuru hearing him. Although Shido would make his own decisions, the choice of location required Ratatoskr helps to prepare in advance. And after hearing Katori's instructions, Shido said to Rimuru, "Can we go to a nearby restaurant?" Shido's suggestion got Rimuru's attention, and she looked at him with a look that didn't seem to understand why he chose to go there, but then spoke up. Fine, it'll be easier to talk there anyway, Rimuru said, her voice sounding like she didn't understand why he led her there. After receiving Rimuru's acceptance, Shido was secretly glad that Rimuru was at least willing to go with him. Then shall we go? Shido began walking out of the alley, followed by Rimuru. But when they were about to leave the alley, Shido suddenly remembered something and spoke up. By the way, Tempest-san. I think you should change your outfit. You're right, let me see. Rimuru began to consider the outfit that needed to be changed. When Shido was about to suggest the outfit to Rimuru, her body suddenly gave off a soft light that made him somewhat surprised. When the light on Rimuru's body disappeared, the outfit that exuded an angelic appearance was replaced by a black skirt with white long sleeves, giving off the innocent feeling of a young girl. Even though Shido had seen Toka change her clothes before, he couldn't help but be surprised every time he saw a scene like this. The dress looks good on Rimuru, it gives off a girly and cute look. But when Shido looked at Rimuru's face, he realized that something was wrong. Rimuru's face was slightly red at this point, and her expression seemed annoyed while looking at her outfit. Hey, stop looking, let's go, Rimuru said and immediately turned around and walked away. Her words also brought Shido back to reality and started walking along to lead the way. Once out of the small alley, in front of Shido was a larger road, and people were passing by. Shido and Rimuru were walking on the street together. But what Shido did not expect has come. Rimuru's beauty has attracted too much unwanted attention, and that will be a big deal. That girl is so cute. Are those two siblings? No, it looks like they're dating. Look at how nervous she is. ... Shido turned his attention to Rimuru, who appeared to be more annoyed by the surrounding chatter. After a while, Shido heard instructions from Kotori. Hey Shido, her mood bar is decreasing, it seems like she hates being like this, try to get her attention, and don't let her care about the crowd. Just a few more miles, get there, and everything will be fine. Just hold on. Okay, let me try. To find a topic of conversation with Rimuru, Shido tried to recall his first meeting with her, the way she fought, or the way she was dressed now. Knowing that the longer he remained silent, things would gradually get worse if Rimuru's mood continued to drop, Shido had to take the risk and speak up immediately. Shido looked at Rimuru, who was walking beside him, and began to speak. Tempest-san, I apologize for startling you the last time we met. Rimuru was surprised when Shido suddenly started talking to her but quickly replied. Ah, no need for that. At that time, I already knew you were getting near me, it's just a precaution, Rimuru replied as if it didn't matter. Hearing that, Shido smiled because at least Rimuru didn't hold a grudge against him. Shido was relieved to not be Rimuru's enemy, but then he remembered Origami, who was on the Ast team and had the most fights with Rimuru. Although he wanted to prevent the Ast from attacking the spirits, at the same time he didn't want any of them to die. He didn't want both sides to continue fighting each other. Shido wanted to know Rimuru's feelings about the Ast and about being attacked despite doing nothing. Wanted to answer the questions in his mind, so he asked Rimuru. Hey Tempest-san, last time you faced the Ast group, why did you just stun them and then leave? Even though he knew that his question was a bit stupid, this was the only way that Shido knew to be able to ask her. Rimuru, after hearing Shido's question, just looked at him with a puzzled face and then spoke. So you want me to kill all of them? Seeing that Rimuru misunderstood what he meant, Shido panicked and hurriedly explained. What? No, I mean when they attacked you intending to kill you, but you spared them. Rimuru said it like she's killed somebody before or maybe thousands, and it made Shido anxious for a while, but he let go of it. After Shido's somewhat hasty explanation, Rimuru acted like he was asking something stupid. Simply, I don't want unnecessary deaths, and besides, it's only natural for them to attack me. Upon hearing Rimuru's brief explanation, Shido made a puzzled expression and spoke up. Normal. What do you mean by that? After Shido's question, Rimuru continued to look at him with an expression like he was continuing to ask the obvious. Realizing that Shido didn't understand what she meant, Rimuru sighed and spoke. The existence of what you call spirits brings destruction to this world. Spirits pose a great danger to humans just by existing, and humans have the nature of eliminating all things dangerous to them, so isn't that normal? After Rimuru's explanation, Shido understood what she meant. But at the same time, he feels something aching in his chest. Is that what Rimuru calls normal? Looking at Rimuru's small body, even though she was stronger than a human, didn't she just accept being attacked so easily? The fact that the things Rimuru called normal, or the things that put her life in danger, and she just accepts it. Even though Shido understood that such things were natural, he refused to accept them as normal. He didn't want Rimuru to fight anymore, he wanted to give her a normal life, a life where she wouldn't have to fight or go through those pointless wars. And to do that, he has to seal her power. While Shido was still thinking about what to do, then there was a loud, gru-gru, sound. Shido looked over at the source of the sound to see Rimuru clutching her stomach. Don't worry, when we go to the restaurant, we can order something, and I'll pay, Shido said with a smile. Then hurry up, Rimuru said, and quickly walked away. She now looked like a sulking child. Shido nodded in agreement, and the gloomy feeling from the conversation earlier quickly disappeared. Rimuru paused. Before Rimuru wore a dress. By the way, Tempest-san, I think you should change your outfit. That's right, I'm a spirit right now, so I need to hide my identity, and no one on the street would wear this kind of outfit anyway, Rimuru thought to herself. You're right, let me see. And after a while, with no idea what kind of outfit she should wear, Rimuru decided to ask Seal. Hey Seal, can you help me change into a more suitable outfit? Yes, master. Great, thank you, Seal Rimuru said. Finally, she wouldn't have to care about her outfit anymore. She's never been good at fashion anyway. A dim light started to glow around Rimuru's body as her astral dress started to fade. Noticing that the power Seal uses is not mana but spiritual energy, Rimuru asks. Seal, why did you use spiritual energy? The Fraxinus ship was trying to detect your mana, so I think it would be best if we use spiritual energy as an alternative for now, master. So that's what they are trying to do, huh? Thank you, Seal. By the time Rimuru has finished thinking, the dim light on her body started to fade as she saw herself now wearing a black miniskirt with white short sleeves. Rimuru was immediately embarrassed because she was wearing a dress, and a cute one at that. Seal, what exactly is this? Rimuru immediately questioned Seal. A suitable outfit, as you said, my master. You, Rimuru. With no words left to utter, Rimuru remained silent. She told Seal to help her change into a more suitable outfit, and Seal did, but not what Rimuru thought. Returning to reality, Rimuru was extremely uncomfortable wearing this dress. She was used to being a doll for Shion and Shuna, so she could temporarily ignore it, for now. When she looked up at Shidhu, she saw Shidhu staring at her without blinking, which made Rimuru feel uncomfortable. Hey, stop looking and just get out of here, Rimuru said, turning and walking away without waiting for Shidhu to respond. She regretted letting Seal change her clothes, but she couldn't resist either. Rimuru stepped out of the alley into the crowded street, followed by Shidhu. Although he was no longer wearing his military uniform when he stepped out into the street, many people were looking at Rimuru. Although he was used to being noticed, in another world, Rimuru wanted at least some peace. During the walk, Shidhu and Rimuru talked back and forth for a while, but Rimuru didn't care about it too much. But while walking, a cry of "Gru, Gru" came from Rimuru's stomach. Rimuru quickly clutched her stomach, surprised and confused. Haven't I been floating in the neighboring world for 4 days? Why do I feel hungry now? Report. While in the neighboring world, the high amount of spiritual power there temporarily stopped your body's activity, and now that the spiritual power has weakened, your human body is back to normal. Ah. So that's why. While Rimuru talked to Seal, Shidhu seemed to have heard Rimuru's stomach growl, so he spoke up. Don't worry, when we go to the restaurant, we can order something, and I'll pay, Shidhu said with a smile. Seeing that smile of Shidhu, Rimuru thought that he was laughing at Rimuru for this, but she still agreed. Hurry up then. Shidhu nodded in agreement and the two continued moving toward the restaurant. In a nearby place, hiding behind the walls, Origami watched the couple walking down the street with an unchanged expression. On the way home, she saw Shidhu with a girl. They looked like a couple, and she started to follow. However, there is a bigger problem. Origami recognized that girl. That girl, why is she with him? Is she gonna take my Shidhu too? Origami frowned, as there's been lots of girls around Shidhu recently, and all of them are spirits. Is he gonna seal her too? Origami didn't care and continued to spy on the both of them. End, Chapter 4.